A drive-by in Denver ends with 6 people shot and very little for the public to go on to find the shooters. The governor's budget is out today. We look at whether he is putting taxpayer money where his campaign priorities are. A political ad with a straight-up lie. No other way to describe it. It's false, and she knows it is. The city of Denver is asking citizens to choose where it's going to spend $2 million. And the birth of twins leads to a discovery in the delivery room.
Sometimes things are just meant to be.
All that is next. Denver's latest mass shooting happened on East Colfax, not far from the Aurora line today. Police say 3 suspects shot 6 people this afternoon. One of them's died. Investigators say 3 people, the shooters, jumped out of a car at Colfax and Verbena and started firing at a group of people. That group was 4 men and 2 women. One of the men died at the scene. The other 5 people were taken to the hospital. 3 of those victims are in critical condition. Police are not saying anything yet about a motive. Police are still looking for the suspects and the car they drove away in. It's this black SUV. Investigators have not offered descriptions of the shooters. The political incumbents on your ballot are still supposed to be doing their day jobs as they campaign, and if they weren't, we'd light them up, right? So take the governor. This is the day, November 1st, when the governor is required to release his proposed budget for the coming year. Democratic Governor Jared Polis did that today. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger looks at how the governor's budget priorities line up with his campaign promises.
Crime, fentanyl, cost of living, topics that have dominated the governor's race. So as Democratic Governor Jared Polis unveils his budget for next year, should he remain governor, is he putting our money where his mouth is? Let's start with crime. His budget proposal calls for state lawmakers to approve $35 million in public safety money, $12.5 million for auto theft prevention. The National Insurance Crime Bureau ranks Colorado as number 1 in auto theft and the Denver metro area as number 2. And Republicans are using those stats to recommend voters make a change at governor. Polis said today his funding to combat auto theft was not asked for in previous years.
We would be supporting 10 prosecutors that focus on auto theft across judicial districts in our state. This is not something they requested 2 or 3 years ago. It's something that meets the need today.
On the topic of fentanyl, he's requesting $2.5 million for 2 special units in the Colorado Bureau of Investigation to handle novel crimes, including fentanyl. Fentanyl, however, is not novel. It's not new. When asked about that, Polis instead pointed out the $3 million he's seeking to better the technology to determine if drugs contain fentanyl.
We're upgrading the state toxicology lab to more rapid processing of results, including whether substances contain fentanyl.
On cost of living, his budget does not further delay the 2-cent per gallon gas fee that will start in April. It was supposed to start this summer, but was delayed because of the inflation. His budget also does not delay the statewide 10-cent bag fee that begins in January. He said state lawmakers can decide if they want to consider delaying any future fees.
We are very open to any and all fee relief that the legislature is willing to consider, and we have some time in the legislative session to look into that as that continues through April.
There was no money set aside for a new sound system. It's interesting that the governor has to do their budget on November 1st because an election will always happen after that date. If there's a change at governor, there's a process to amend the budget. Even Polis himself could amend his budget in January when the legislature meets for the first time.
And in Colorado, voters get more of a say than we do in other states because we could pass ballot measures that could change the amount of money the state brings in.
Yeah, Proposition 121, which I talked about yesterday, that could lower the state income tax. Proposition 123 could say, here's how you have to spend some of that money. There are things that could alter how the state spends. And the governor said today, even if everything passes, my budget is firm because we're in Tabor refund territory. So it's only going to reduce your Tabor refund. It's only when we're not in Tabor refund territory where the state would have to cut things. And he says if a recession happens, which is likely, that's when you worry about it. But that could be after he's out of office, perhaps.
I know there's a little mistake in your story there where you went to say election and you said inflation. You should have gone back and fixed that. That was an error there. Thank you, Marshall. You will not often hear us refer to a politician lying, even though we often point out false things they say. Because calling something a lie requires us to know without a doubt that the person saying it realizes that what they're saying is not true, and they say it anyway. Like this ad in Colorado's new 8th Congressional District by Republican Barb Kirkmeyer.
The tip of this pencil is the amount of fentanyl it takes to kill.
True. DEA says 2 milligrams can kill some people, and 35 young Coloradans did die from fentanyl in 2021.
In fact, one died in a classroom just like this. I'm Barb Kirkmeyer. Yadira Caraveo and Liberal Democrats voted to legalize fentanyl possession.
That's a lie.
You heard me. They legalized fentanyl.
Hold on, stop the ad. The lie does not get truthier if you keep saying it. Why is this a lie and not just false? Well, because Kirkmeyer knows that her claim is not true, and she's saying it anyway. No one legalized fentanyl in Colorado. Caraveo was part of a bipartisan group of Democrats and Republicans who reduced the criminal penalty for possessions of small amounts of fentanyl from a felony to a misdemeanor in 2019. Then Caraveo was part of another bipartisan group this year that increased the penalty to a felony after drug deaths spiked. Kirkmeyer has a truthful case to make against Caraveo on the issue of fentanyl, but she's choosing to make a false claim instead.
I'm Barb Kirkmeyer, and I approve this message.
We got some last-minute questions from viewers still working through their ballots. Tonight's next question is a two-parter from Ed in Greenwood Village. Ed wants to know why his ballot envelope has 3 holes punched in it, 2 on one side, 1 on the other. And Ed also had a question about signing his ballot envelope. Should he include his middle name in the signature or not? Ed, I love questions that cause me to learn something. And today I learned the 2 holes together on the ballot are there to guide visually impaired voters to the signature line. And the other hole is there to show when there's a ballot in the envelope. I think we might have talked about this in past years. Election workers use it to hold it up to make sure that the ballot's been removed and counted. Now, as for that idea of whether to sign your middle name, this comes up every election season. And the question is simply this. How do you normally sign your name? Election judges will compare your signature to the most recent signature that the state has on file. So just sign your name like you normally do. And know that if it doesn't match up, your county elections office has 8 days after election day to contact you and to help you cure your ballot by giving them the correct signature. If you are not voted out by now, Denver is asking citizens to weigh in on something. So the city has a pilot program for a new form of direct democracy. It's called participatory budgeting. Basically, the city's going to set aside $2 million to fund some capital projects that are selected by us regular people. Steve Steger has the story.
Because I've always liked to be a part of what goes on in my community so I can know what's going on.
If this election cycle hasn't made you sick of voting, Miss Kathy Ewing has a proposition for you.
Everybody come and vote on this because it's for you. It's for you to be excited about because it's going to be benefiting you and your community.
Miss Kathy is part of a group of Denver citizens who've come up with a list of ways to spend $2 million in capital funds. Her proposal made the ballot.
To get a community garden for our elderly and our young people so that we can try to learn how to cook healthy, eat healthy, and be healthy at a young age.
That proposal, which would cost $175,000, would build and expand community gardens outside subsidized housing communities, including the Columbine homes where Miss Kathy lives.
And they're all cracked up, and then I have to go over this.
You could also vote to spend $400,000 to widen the sidewalk outside of another subsidized community for people with disabilities and senior citizens, where Phyllis Mack lives.
When I ride in my scooter chair, I have to go out in the street, and it's very dangerous.
The process is called participatory budgeting.
I think this is a moment, kind of an experiment with direct democracy. This allows residents to really take the lead and ensure that their perspectives and their voices are heard for their communities.
Community members in Denver have narrowed 1,000 proposals for that money to 23. They include buying a new shower trailer for people experiencing homelessness, or building chessboards and creating community spaces in city parks. You have until November 20th to vote. Until then, Miss Kathy is going to work.
We're going to knock on doors, we're going to call people on the phone, we're going to go to stores, and we're going to advertise all over the place, and we're going to put them on cards and everything. I'm just excited. I can't wait.
Her enthusiasm is just electric. You can vote online. We'll post the link whenever I finish writing this story for 9news.com. And there is no age limit to vote, and you only have to acknowledge that you live or go to a school in the city of Denver. Don't have to provide an address. That is purposeful because this program is meant for people who don't typically have the chance to engage with government to actually engage with government.
So I kind of love this, and I also kind of feel like this is a dystopian game show where it's like, here are a bunch of obvious needs that we as a society should be able to solve for our neighbors. Now, which ones do you want to solve, and who do you want to leave hanging? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
The thought is you're getting people involved in the process, and also through this, they're finding out some of the things that they think that they want the city might not be able to afford. Like, for instance, like, we want to put a splash pad in on this pool. Well, None of those budget proposals are going to cover that, or it's going to take the whole amount of money for that much. So they had to sort through like 1,000 different proposals and then figure out realistically what they could do. So really it connects people with how government works, so then they can make those decisions on their own, so it's not some bureaucrat doing it for them.
That part of it makes sense to me. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this one. Interesting stuff. All right, go write that story for 9news.com.
Working on it.
Colorado faces a drier reality on the horizon.
We're going to have to do more with less water in the future.
A new study looks at which cuts could be made. And two nurses with a special bond with the twins they delivered. A delivery room surprise. Next. Keystone is a ski area, not a ski town. But there are people who live in the area, and they're again pushing to be legally recognized as a town. The resort was founded 50 years ago. It's part of unincorporated Summit County. For decades, there has been talk of incorporating Keystone as a place, and that's always been opposed by Vail Resorts, which owns the ski area. The Denver Post was the first to report on the latest attempt to incorporate Keystone. Residents have petitioned a state court asking for a special election to form a town. Their argument in favor hasn't really changed. They don't want to rely on Summit County for things like maintenance and public safety. This time around, one of the resort's founders, Bill Bergman, says he's had a change of heart on the issue, and he wants Keystone to form its own town and stop sending its tax revenue to Summit County. There are a few different approaches out there to Colorado's water crisis. One approach is to blame California for everything. Another approach is to figure out where Colorado can save water. And a conservative think tank is out with its suggestions. A new study funded by the Common Sense Institute says that the water shortage is not about to go away, so it's time to talk about how to conserve water locally given our expanding population. The researchers say Colorado's largest water cuts should be to inefficient agricultural irrigation and turf grass maintenance. Both of those solutions are already things mentioned in the state's water plan. Eric Kuhn, one of the authors of the study, he used to run the Colorado River Water Conservation District. He says the state should be forming more regional water authorities, where cities that end up with extra water would then be required to help their regional partners.
We've had this culture of independent systems because there is no real regional provider. There never has been. It's just like transportation. It's, every little city can't do it alone. You need to have a regional plan.
The study's authors are asking state legislators to provide full funding for the state's water plan. That would be about $3 billion by 2050.
Can you believe it? The first day of November, and we saw a daytime high in the mid-70s. Hope you had a chance to get outside, soak in some of the sunshine, because now the clouds quickly pushing in as we're watching the sun begin to set just off to our west into the foothills. Officially 75 out at DIA. Typically, on average, we kick off the month of November with temperatures in the upper 50s. We were just shy of that record high of 78. We warmed up into the upper 70s off to the eastern plains, still tracking some high fire danger out there with some gusty winds, 50s and even low 60s up in the mountains. Tonight, all about the cloud cover streaming in across much of Colorado. Our storm system that will be impacting folks starting late tomorrow night into Thursday and Friday is just now digging in across the Pacific Northwest. Tonight, we stayed quiet and dry. Early tomorrow morning, the sunshine is back for us. Once again, we'll be tracking a warm day, and then late tomorrow night, we'll start to see some of that rain and snow pushing in across the western slope. We already are watching out there for winter weather advisories in blue, winter storm warnings in red. The San Juans really look to be the big winners out of this storm system as we look ahead toward Wednesday night into Friday morning, where we could see potentially 1 to 2 feet of snowfall stacking up. Still going to be a warm day here in eastern Colorado tomorrow, but cooler temperatures coming our way right now. Looks like a trace to half an inch here in Denver by early Friday morning.
It's got to be tough to shock a labor and delivery nurse, but you know, one couple did it.
I'm going to go 1 in a million. The odds are 1 in a million.
The twins were just the beginning of a coincidence that'll make you smile. That's next. A Coloradan headed to the hospital recently to give birth to twins with 2 perfect names picked out and on her mind. When she got there, her delivery team was in for a surprise.
Sometimes things are just meant to be. All right.
Yeah, picking names is definitely not a straightforward process.
And we kind of just, over the last couple months, kind of went through names.
And we kept coming back to Emma and Julia, like every single time.
So I have Julia, and Chris has Emma.
We keep saying Emma is the troublemaker.
They were born October 5th.
So we went to the hospital the night before, on the 4th.
We were about to deliver, so it was a lot of craziness.
There's, a team for my wife. There's a team for each baby.
The nurses had asked what we wanted to name our kiddos.
Asking us, did you guys pick names yet? And we said yes, Emma and Julia.
And everyone in the room kind of giggled and laughed.
People started chuckling a little bit, like, well, Emma is going to be taking care of Emma, and Julia is going to be taking care of Julia.
I am Julia.
I'm Emma.
And this is Julia, a sweet little twin girl that I had the pleasure of delivering.
It's a pretty popular name, so I've had a couple Emmas, but this was my favorite Emma.
I mean, I thought it was a little crazy. Like, the probability is very low.
I'm gonna go 1 in a million. The odds are 1 in a million.
I thought of it as kind of, like it's a sign that, like, okay, we picked the right names.
Yeah, right.
I just think this is something we'll tell them about, and it'll just be something that we can kind of look back on and just remember how special it was.
It's just not something that you see every day.
I'm just picturing one moment of absolute confusion in the delivery room. Who's talking to who? The most Colorado thing we saw today, not in our state at all, not even close, in fact. That and your feedback next. Hey, that was the lie that had the ad in it. We talked about the ad with the lie in it. We talked about that a moment ago. Hey, most Colorado thing we saw today actually comes to us from South Korea. Michael sent us this photo of a statue in Incheon, South Korea. You seen this guy before? Yeah, it's a slightly different pose, but that's the big blue bear from outside the convention center in Denver. Reminded Michael of the same. Apparently, the South Korean version of the bear is called the Fortune Bear. I don't know which one was there first, so I don't want to say that one's a knockoff of the other, but I don't know, whatever. Send us the things that say Colorado to you. Email it to us at next@9news.com, or until I quit Twitter, use the hashtag HeyNext. Feedback tonight on political ads and honesty comes from Lowe's, who says, thanks for keeping integrity in focus with political ads. Bugs me when politicians have a legit, honest argument on an issue but decide to lie to you just because it's spicier sounding. There's no need to do it. We'll keep calling it out. See you next time.